Hey there, guys. Video Psych here. And as you can see, I'm still alive. Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, it's been over a month, at least since I made my last video. I was going to start making videos again like 2 weeks ago, but man, just work. All of a sudden, we got all this work backed up with IV and all that, and geez. But enough about that. And this is, of course, a bit more about survival. And I got a comment on, of course, one of my videos of, somebody being judgmental. And I'll read that here right now. Let's see. Now, on my real doll after 3 years video, this guy just comes up and just says, because of course. And, of course, this doesn't really say anything. So, and I just said back to him, because of course what? And then he just states, because of course you have to have a love doll. I don't judge, but keep that shit to yourself. And I'm just like, man, all I really did was in this video was just show it off for a bit and give people information about it. I didn't, what the heck? What the heck is this guy talking about? And I just said, if you don't want to see it, then don't. Then just don't watch it. The video and just move on. I'm here educating people that are looking for this type of information. And if you don't want to see it, then just move on. Jeez, some people are just so fucking stupid. And then he just says back to me, I'm not going to say nothing. You have had it bad enough. And I just said back to him, you just did. You did say something. Jeez. And just because somebody has a sex toy love doll doesn't mean their life is terrible. I just get that from time to time. Of, people assuming shit, And then they, it's, our lives just really aren't anybody else's business, especially when, what we are doing and what we have isn't really hurting anybody. But, you'll get people like that every now and then, that are very judgmental like that and they just assume shit. But, that's just part of everyday life. You're always going to be dealing with people like that, you know? But a little bit more on that, sometimes, the thing is, happiness is kind of more of a state of mind, and you can be in just about any situation and still be able to find happiness. Now, the way that the Jews did this when they were in the concentration camps is that they just kind of used their imagination. They didn't always think about, they didn't always just focus on the bad, around them. And in a real survival situation, that's all that you can really do. It's just not focus on the bad all the time. What you need to do is that you need to focus. And that is sometimes what I try to teach on my channel. But what I also try to teach people on my channel is, I might have gone through some bad things in the past, but that doesn't really mean that I can't be happy now and in the present, in the future. And the reason why is because, why should I use up the rest of my life trying to feel sorry for myself and what happened to me when at the same time I'm happy to just see my family. I'm just happy to be alive and that I managed to get out of that situation. And that's what really, in the end, what matters to me is just looking at the bigger picture, not just looking at the past all the time. And again, those are just the most important things to me. I don't care about all that other shit. And every now and then, it just makes me laugh when I see these videos of these guys that are like, I have no friends. And then they make another video, but then they put, I have no friends. And then, like in the comments below, it's like some emotional shit happening here. And I just laugh because I'm just like, man, either this person is looking for attention or they just have no sense of survival. Some people I think are just so sensitive that if you seriously just took the shirt off of their backs, that it's like they just wouldn't be able to live, you know? And, I've known plenty of survivalists out here in Iowa, and lots of these guys, I mean, if, like, let's say the world ended tomorrow around this area, it probably wouldn't even change that much for at least a lot of these survivalists here because they just live the bare bones life here in Iowa. They don't give a bit. They don't give a shit about all that extra shit that everybody else has. They're just a survivalist, you know. That's just how they, and that's how they like to live. They like to be isolated, etc. But when I was homeschooled, I mean, yeah, it got bad at one point. But the thing is, it really only got really that bad because of just the sheer isolation. I also wasn't able to really meet many people that I could relate to, etc., talk to. The only people that I was talking to at the time were my brother and my mother. And my dad was always working, trying to be successful in his workplace. And at the same time, I was always trying to, work hard to be able to get back into the classroom with other kids. That wasn't a special eds class. And I persevered and I managed to make it through. I eventually got to a point where I managed to, get you know into classes with the regular kids again, etc. I managed to show people that I wasn't mentally handicapped or special needs. I wasn't even close to that, and blah blah blah. Moving on. And that's just kind of the way that I look at it now. I look at it as it might have been bad back then, but now it isn't. And I'm glad for that. And that's what I think a lot of people need to do nowadays. They need to stop looking for ways to get shit out of people all the time. Because the thing is, you know, every time you get something for free from somebody, that is still coming out of pocket. That is still coming out of somebody's pockets, or some resource somewhere that's getting used up. And I think 2020 really woke up a lot of people when it came to survival because the thing is, lots of these people, that are probably, blaming everything on the Chinese, lots of those people probably their only survival tactic is calling Domino's for a pizza. You know, these people have zero survival tactics. They don't have any. And then so the only tactic that they have of survival and know is just blame everything on somebody else and get violent. That's the only survival tactic they have and know. And out here in Iowa, while all that shit was happening elsewhere, almost everything here in Iowa was seriously the fucking same. And just like I said before, a lot of the survivalists here don't give a shit about what happens elsewhere and what products other people have, etc. They just live the bare bones life. And if the world ended around them, they probably wouldn't even notice because they're just survivalists. That's just how they live. And of course, I know some survival things too, and that's of course how I managed to live through, some of the chaotic things that were happening too, because eventually even Iowa wasn't completely safe to this either. And there's even a point where we ran out of electricity or didn't have electricity for a bit. Some people didn't have electricity for over a month. And for my place, we didn't have electricity for over a week. And so I had to deal with that too. And so luckily, of course, I had been learning survivalist things. And, you know, one thing that is really good to have is a knife. Your knife is one of your best tools to have when it comes to survival. Get a decent sized knife, kind of like this one. Although I would maybe sometimes recommend a fixed blade versus, a flip blade like this, because a flip blade like this can break right here. It has all these little mechanics in there and mechanisms in there that will break if you put enough pressure on it or use it enough. So sometimes having a fixed blade is good to use. And I would have more than one knife, not just Don't just have one knife, have multiple, because one of them is going to wear it down, etc. Just knowing little things like that about survival is good to know. So when it comes to survival, just learn everything that you can. And it's just like I said before. I'm not here to, talk about my past in a way to make you guys feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me. Learn from me. Learn the fact that nowadays, despite what happened in my past, I'm just fine nowadays. And I'm living just fine. And the people that assume shit about you and say shit about you are the people that don't matter. Do not pay attention to people like that, and just cut them out of your life. And that's one thing that I have definitely loved about growing up, is that nowadays, since I'm grown up, I can cut people out of my life. I can make my own decisions and move to places when I need to. And that was probably the only really major issue sometimes in the past growing up, was because when I was in a whole school full of women that were at some points being abusive towards me, I couldn't just leave because, I wasn't old enough to make that kind of choice yet. I couldn't just run away from my parents. And then the police would be like, oh, he's old enough now. No, because I was like 16, 17 years old at the time. So I couldn't just do that yet. You can't do that until you're 18, where you're legally an adult, and you can seriously just run away from your parents and be like, well, I decided to leave my parents and I've made that decision. You can't say that to the police until you're 18 years old. And so the police can only legally look for you for so long when you turn 18, and so on and so forth. But yeah, just, the thing is, again, happiness is just state of mind, just like also sadness is also a state of mind. Of course, there are times when you can't really control it, but a lot of people can control it way more than they think that they can. There's actually a lot of things you can control way more than maybe many people think that they can. But yeah, with that being said, the thing is, just focus. You can't just let all these bad things get in the way of your focus. You need to focus on innovation and things that can help keep you surviving for another day or two or three. Because if you let all this negativity get in the way of your focus, you're going to last maybe like a day or two or three, and that's it. And if you try to focus, you find innovative ways to survive longer, you're going to last up to at least a week or two, depending on your situation. And the first thing that you need to do is look for water. At least water that's tangible to drink, of course. But, almost any water will be able to do, because after about 2 to 3 days, your body will actually just succumb to not surviving anymore without fresh enough water, or water that isn't clean enough. Your body needs liquids to survive. So the first thing you need to look for is water, obviously. And then you could say maybe survive about a week or two without food. And so that should be second on the list. But it shouldn't be too hard to find edible food either, because most bugs are edible. Did you know that? I mean, you might want to cook them first, but yeah, most bugs are actually edible, and so are many other things. Just like many other plants, you probably don't want to eat too much grass, but just even stuff like that. And also learn how to, that's definitely one of the most important things, is just learn how to make a fire, and also learn how to make some shelter. Those are definitely the most important things when it comes to survival. And also trying to be cleanliness enough, etc. But there's just a lot of, survival advice that I could probably give you as far as like wildlife shit like that. But take kind of like what I was saying before, is just focus. Don't focus on the negative things. Just focus on what's in front of you and what materials that you can use. And with that being said, I guess I will end this video. and stop listening to the negativity. Goodbye.